You are listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Radio Free Larry.
All right. So if you shut down those particular streets, and I'm not, it sounds like you want to completely shut down. I'm not sure what's on those streets. I guess industrial or something. I don't know. But one of the dangers is if you shut down a crime area like that, per se, it doesn't. It sounds weird to me. Maybe I'm not understanding the concept that they then could move to the residential streets and commit those crimes on the residential streets. I think I'm missing a D there on the written. See, that's what my wife would have been for, to take care of all this stuff. That's why I was supposed to be married. Have an assistant here for the show. Now, the government didn't kill my show right when I started it, like 15 years ago. It would be great. And they kill me too. If they could, I'd be dead. Believe me. Right. So, because they work for the people that commit the crimes on that street, they grease their palms and stuff. And importers, remember, narcotics smuggling and distribution requires cover issues to take the focus off of the multimillionaire payments on some of this transportation schemes that the deep state's involved in, drug trafficking schemes. The crime could actually get worse on the residential if they shut down crime-ridden adjacent streets. The only way to do it, your whole problem is manpower, woman power, trans power if they work for you. It's again, what they'll say, okay, that's the mayor's fault. Well, not really. I don't think I would work for a liberal city. It'd just be too dangerous. You end up in jail. But it's not really just that. In Washington State, in Seattle, kids don't grow up aspiring to be a law enforcement officer. They want to be somebody that works, does work for Antifa. So they grow up thinking, I'll throw fire bombs at the ICE facility and save the sex traffickers from ICE. So that's the issue. You don't have kids growing up to want to be cops as much as you would in other communities. They want to be ICE. They want to throw fire bombs and get all the sex traffickers released from detention. That's why you have sex trafficking problems. So again, like I said, in New York City, if you promote illegal alien benefits and protection and sanctuary, you're not going to help your black community that you're talking about having narcotics issues, financial issues, housing issues. You're actually going to come against that. So again, to defeat that issue, you multiply the effect of your officers with electronic devices, which would require covert mounting of cameras and things as covert as you could get it. And then you would have to have people that know what they're doing monitoring those cameras. At some point, AI should be able to look at them and figure it out. I don't know if you'll be able to put something together like that at this point, but retired detectives could really help manage everything. Well, you would essentially shut down a lot of it, and then your street officers, which includes some of your detectives, would actually be like a response force, and you'd have like a lieutenant or something with a team of retired detectives that would work, I guess 24/7. Similar to the work they were doing, they're just not going to be really on the street, and they would be cheaper. I don't know what the breakdown would get. Probably you could hire three of them for the price of one officer. And a lot would voluntarily come back to work as long as you paid them an okay salary or fat. It's a flat rate contract, is what it is. So you wouldn't have to pay benefits. Right? There'd be no leave days. It was coming, but you have to get dependable people you can schedule. And again, once there's detectives that would they come in every day if they could. They wouldn't mind because again, there's no real danger. If you go out on a covert technician mission, then it could be a little bit of danger, but not real. You know what I mean? Not like you really experience when you're wearing the uniform or doing a entry or something. They wouldn't do any entries or anything like that. And they have their health benefits because they're retired. And then through that, you would be able to minimize the success of the crooks. Right. And at a certain point, it'd be too hot for them, probably, because you're going to show up like in an instant. It'd freak them out. It would freak them out to a certain. Again, when we're dealing with narcotics use and things like that, people do things that somebody who doesn't use narcotics wouldn't do because it's just self defeating. But you should be able to present. But again, the question is, where do they move on to? Is it worse if you cause them to move on? But again, you could design like a security zone. Actually, right? It would probably be safer to live there than in the mayor's house if you did it right. Again, guns though and all that sound to be. So you probably want some shot spotters. Yeah, you're gonna have Chicago's got some of what you need. I don't know if they did the other stuff or not because I've suggested to many places get some of your retired officers, especially your detectives, to come back to work. Just pay them a flat fee. And you probably could afford it. Right. Then you got all their experience. They may even know who some of the people are that are on that screen that you need to get a search warrant or a wiretap on. And they could, prepare the affidavits. The officer, looks at the affidavit. Or actually, I think you could probably transmit it. Actually, they need the paper. I don't know how you do it now. I don't even know if you do any paper. Do you just like email it to the judge? I don't even know how you do it. The judge emails it back. Maybe that's how you do it. I don't know. But again, that it takes time to do the affidavit. Any retired detective could do that. So, well, that's what you're doing is you're maximizing the time on the street for the people that actually, are active law enforcement, have the credentials, and are employed as such. And then that should do it. Actually, I don't think but again, I don't. Again, without the study, nobody knows what the effects of shutting down the streets are. It could make it worse. And then if you do it, and then you move on to another location. Now, people that live there are like, yeah, great, let them move on to another location. But that location could be their streets. Because this is what I was looking at. I'm like, what do they mean they're shutting down the streets? You can't. I mean, I see vehicles. You got to travel in and out. So you're kind of creating. You're shutting down access from other streets, but you want those streets completely shut down. Problem with that is then they might move into your community and you're not going to shut your streets down because you need access for your vehicles to go to work and all of that. So the only way to do it is to come up with a better law enforcement equation that costs money. It requires a little bit of intrusion. So I'm not sure where you're all on that. The police department doesn't have enough people. They don't. That's what it pretty much comes down to. So if we can beat that issue with electronics, retired detectives are great people to fix things like that. Right. Well, it's just there's certain things that even conservative cities have. But again, maybe you could minimize it to the point where it's not such a big deal. But again, the bottom line is one, staffing. Again, because I just looked at a video, I should have posted it. The reporter said, the city said, when we can increase patrols when we have officers available. That's a big if. Because when you need them the most, they're not going to be available. So again, a lot of the things that the liberals complain about, they're necessary. The thing is, you have to make sure there's no abuse of the devices. That's all. Thank you, Larry. No, it could be like go to Walmart. They watch you on cameras. They can rig it up like that. You can even rent space on those streets if it's available, and send a couple retired detectives in, set up an office. Right. That might be a little dangerous, though. What are these people doing there? Right. Well, the officer, they're going to carry. They retire. They probably have a carry permit and all that, but right, just not allowed to They're not allowed to engage in uh, undercover roles. They're not allowed to have law enforcement interaction when they're retired, if I'm not mistaken. Right. Even if they're administrative. But there's a lot they can do. Essentially, they could tell you where to place the officers, especially when something's going down. Watching on the cameras. It's just the streets are like aisles in Walmart when you got a shoplifter. If you have the video surveillance up. That's why drones were important. Ukraine got our drones. You're supposed to have gotten those full-size drones to patrol the cities. I started saying that like 2014. Well, if you shut down those streets, the passive least resistance might actually lead to the neighborhoods they're trying to protect. And again, shutting down the streets requires what? Law enforcement. So it's just kind of this blanket word that doesn't really say anything or do anything. So if you want those streets shut down, then you have to allow a little bit of intrusion. In fact, we'll have those people arrested. And I do believe that it's under investigation right now. That's what I'm hearing. That a number a number of the people that are involved in whatever is going on there are actively under investigation. Right. So what you're doing is you're electronically locking down those streets, but they're still you're still allowing egress and all that, and then you can watch what's going on there. And there's something coming up with the soccer thing and all that. I mean, what you're asking of your police department, Jesus, there's just no way to do it. But again, there's a way to do it, and I designed that for departments, especially departments that are understaffed. Thank you, Larry. I wouldn't live there. I guess they have to. It's like buying a house isn't always a great option if you don't have the right amount of money. You can end up in a war zone. Right. If you rent, then you say bye. Moving out. And again, Seattle was an issue with the price of housing and whatnot. Well, there's increased investigation, I'm sure, right now in all the cities that are involved in the FIFA or whatever it is, World Cup, whatever it is. I don't pay attention. It's just like useless to me. If I don't remember your name, you're probably somewhat useless to me. There's no reason to occupy my brain with your name. If I remember your name, you're either evil or you're a useful person. Well, crime is cyclical, especially when you arrest one group, and when it involves young people, it's really like it can depress you as a cop. I mean, if you really think about it, like you arrest one group of young people, and then there's and the next take over, and just a revolving door kind of deal, right? But the key is to make the area non-beneficial to their criminal activity and with their ability to stay out of jail. Right? And I don't know where your judiciary sits and all that. Because shutting it down doesn't necessarily mean, I guess you did request additional patrols with it. Right? The best thing is to allow it to stay open and then arrest it. But again, it's limited in its success. Right, if you lived where Bill Gates lives, you wouldn't have that problem. What's the scripture say? There will always be poor. There's a lot to that. Electronic means monitoring online and offline. It's the only way with rapid response. It's the only way to do anything in Seattle. You have to have some level of intrusion. Well, the WTO, the World Trade Organization, I think it was 2002 or 3. They were online monitoring probably, you know, some long term, and then they intensified it when they got closer. And what they did, it was about 4 a.m. They all gathered, the, the the raid teams, and then based upon what, again, Telegram didn't exist back then and all that, and I don't, you know, I'm not sure, you know, if that's really as secure as the people that use it think it is. Several ways to defeat that. Right. They went in and they took everything away from people that had weapons and all these other things. They went in with their search warrants. They, you know, middle of the night search warrants even, and they went in where these groups of people were saying, like they were saying, the one guy was from Delaney Hall, was from where, somewhere, Portland or something. Portland. It was some. I think it was an organizer from Portland or something. So again, people like that were staying in a certain location or certain locations together. Went in with their search warrants, took weapons, and you know all sort bricks, whatever it was, and just said, you know, that's it. Bye. And then when they, you know, when they arrived, they didn't have all those all that weaponry. I don't think it took a lot for them to arrest you. They weren't going to, you know, have this thing, you know, turn around. And it did get them in trouble. That was the one where they had the mass arrests lawsuit. I think the mass arrest lawsuit was bullshit anyway, but I think some judge bought into it. So now they're like governors of New Jersey, all the people that were, because they didn't put that felony on their list, on their on their life. Now, I don't know if she was there. She's just a billionaire's daughter that hangs out with Soros's people, probably. But again, Soros doesn't help addicts. He helps people that bring the narcotics in and addict people to drugs. So you have to understand, being liberal isn't real anymore, at least. Right. So the idea is this: to prevent a street takeover, you have to monitor the internet, and you have to have AI monitoring it, and you have to force these social media companies to be honest, because they'll look the other way just because they're laughing at you, because there's going to be a street takeover or a flash mob somewhere. Again, a street takeover generally is a flash mob type of thing. Right. So you need rapid deployment forces. That's where that's where it's successful, when you shut down the streets, because they're organizing to go to this intersection and that intersection, and of course one street over this way, one street over. So when you close down the entire area, they still converge on the area, but they're a little confused as where to go because they can't get to the targeted streets. And I think LA used that during the anti-ice riots. I was looking for the videos. I had posts of it. I just can't find it. So again, it's right. What is that? Seattle is probably experiencing something similar to what LA was experiencing during the riots. So you have to shut down like a 4-block square area or something like that, or like 2 blocks by 2 blocks or something. And what you have to do is you have to run your cops through those streets, rousting everybody. Now it's not, it's not always available, but right. Well, nobody's allowed on those streets. Again, what you're talking about, shutting down that area, it may not work for that particular operation, but it would work for flash mobs and street takeovers. Right. Well, you have to outpace their arrival. And I guess sometimes you just think it's going to be a gathering versus a street takeover. Right. So you have to cut off the streets that move to the targeted location before they get there, or very early on. That way, nobody but a handful of people are inside that perimeter. So you have to maintain a perimeter. So vehicles, and again, it's easy on a street takeover because it's vehicles. Again, a lot of it's manpower issues also. which actually, if you were to, you could use the the Mexican cartel uh, modus operandi. Get yourself some long vehicles, maybe even National Guard vehicles, and just pull them across intersections. So it really doesn't take that much manpower. Now, you still might have people on foot traveling, but you won't have that street takeover. And you could still minimize by telling people no. Well, one of the issues is though, if you tell people no and they actually defeat your perimeter, then they get encouraged. Right. So again, people grow up in Washington State aspiring to be Antifa and throw fire bombs at ICE detention centers to release people from detention, um, and a lot of those people are sex traffickers. So again, that's why you have trouble. Right. Well, there was a price you have to pay for hiring those type of teachers and presenting the George Soros curriculum. I'm not here not to take care of people, but gotta be realistic about it. You can't cut your nose off to spite your face. Again, you're cutting your nose off to spite the community's face. Right. Well, that's usually what rapid deployment, it evolves out of the high threat, high intensity task forces, high intensity, high crime, high intensity task force, whatever they call those things. Right. That's what has to happen for both of those situations. But when you don't have officers, then you have to do additional things like bringing back officers to work administrative type work and even some, analyst law enforcement type work. And then that frees your officers up. It takes time to do the paperwork, takes time to do the affidavits. So if you have somebody who can write those up, the officer just looks at it, signs it, and that's it. So the officer doesn't have that kind of downtime. And a lot of detectives would love to do that. Love the extra income, love to, get back to the work. And then that would give that experience and expertise to the mission. Essentially, you'd have, somebody like a lieutenant or a sergeant with them, and then you'd all be sitting there strategizing the movements on the ground. That's what the AI should be able to do that eventually, but they got to build the right AI. AI should be able to tell you where to move your officers and when. Like right now, if you were feeding the information into AI, a law enforcement AI, so what you do is you take the personality of your best detectives and you reduce it to thought and analysis. Like how do they do it? And then you put it into code. So you could have your best officers you ever had turn into digital thought, digital analysis. And that would start the AI in the right direction. And then essentially it would analyze all your street takeovers and it could strategize as to where best placement of your officers. And you could actually arrive on crime scenes before they occur, only because AI knows that at this time, again, officers do it also. Like, well, how does the sergeant do it? The sergeant knows at this time, this put my officers over here, and it'll be my best chance of, either catching someone or stopping a crime. But of course, AI would be a little bit more accurate. It would take things like weather. I guess officers do that too, right? The warmer weather and all that you take that into consideration. Right. Yeah, we're on the cusp of actually once AI is developed to the point of outpacing criminal activity to a certain degree. I mean, it'll cut it back to whatever level it can. but getting to that point because those that are breaking the law have the advantage of technology and other things now. But our technology, once our technology advances past their technology, again, there's the intrusion concern, which actually blocks a lot of that. But again, you can do it. I mean, you just that area, if it's heavily monitored and you have people watching it and telling off, like if an officer doesn't know exactly where to go at the initial phase of something going down, then the chance of stopping it minimizes, and the chance of not catching them minimizes. But if you have an early enough warning and early enough response, then you probably can stop most crimes. That's where also metaphysics come into play. They say metaphysically, a cursed area will send the officer in the wrong direction. Intuition suffers. So that would also help. AI helps with intuition, where intuition might be failing. Right. The real answer is another, whatever it is, 1,000 police officers. But the reality is that's not coming anytime soon. At least I don't think it is. But what can you do to replace 1,000 police, or simulate 1,000 police officers, or maybe not that many, and that's using electronic surveillance. Now you also have a lot of narcotics use, narcotics death, which takes some law enforcement assets up. It takes definitely EMS assets. So if you block entrance to those streets from that side, that didn't work either, did it? I don't. So well, that's not. I mean, that's not a terrible strategy if it works. Only because that naturally, if you travel around a city long enough, you'll find you'll ask a question why a street doesn't go through. Like planners never connected certain streets, and that's just a natural thing that happens sometimes. And if it happens there, then it goes. Then that's the way it is. You could also. That's probably pretty expensive. I don't know if you can do that. There are systems that would block a street where it's just like lights change. I think some of the cities have it where lights will change if a fire truck's approaching. Right. Or I know they have that. Right. So wait, it's the same thing. It'll open up when your fire truck's coming down the street, ambulance is coming down the street. The thing that would normally change the light will open up a barricade or something. Now, again, that could get expensive. Again, the what do they call those things? The bollards. You could have heavy duty bollards, but that's expensive. That's all expensive. It has to be maintained. Well, right. Essentially, the people that you're trying to stop, if they were on foot or bailed out of a vehicle, interfere with the cops' response. They'd know that if you might actually get more people running up your street fleeing from law enforcement because they know if they get to that location, or even if somebody's chasing after them with a gun. Well, actually, no, yeah, if they're in a vehicle, I guess, yeah. If it's just like a drive by, they'll run up there knowing that they can't get past it without getting out of the vehicle. So, increasing manpower, increasing the effect of the given manpower is important. Cameras are very important. Video surveillance of those areas. Again, right now they could be under covert video surveillance. I don't know. You don't know. They can't tell you because if it is, because they're investigating those people. It takes time to build the case and find everybody that's involved. With I would say, because there's always task forces that, like before the Super Bowl, Homan's already saying that he's going to put a task force in somewhere. So I would say they're probably investigating sex trafficking in Seattle. I mean, probably it's perpetual actually, but so what is this thing of Seattle? I wasn't paying attention to it. I got so much other stuff going. Nothing in my life, just helping everyone else. Okay, it's a host city of FIFA. So they're there. So there's additional task forces in your city. Those six cities right now have additional investigators. Who knows who they're going to bust? They might realize who they all are by now. I don't know. So you actually, that area is probably being somewhat investigated to identify who the players are in sex trafficking, and they're being watched online and everything else and offline. And well, because when FIFA comes in, sex trafficking increases. They already have an investigation going on. So well, you should see additional. I haven't looked. You may even have it in the news today. I don't know, or last week. You should see additional sex trafficking arrests in Seattle, either now or in the near future. Actually, it should be now. By now, I guess. Actually, now, right? Or they might wait for some more things, and then you'll probably have the fake sex trafficking, the undercover. Your officers go to work and say, "I'm a 14-year-old girl." What do you do for a living? I pretend I'm a 14-year-old girl. Oh, really? Huh? What do you wear when you do that? But yeah, so all this is so right now you probably have a lot of stuff going on in Seattle as far as sex crime investigation and drug distribution investigations that are supplemental. My phone just made a noise. That are supplemental. Now there should be some addition. So you should see an increase in law enforcement arrests. But again, the only way I don't think shutting down the streets. I mean, partitioning the streets, possibly. Could it interfere with law enforcement and EMS? Yes, but I think they respond via GPS, right? So you just have to reset GPS. Like I said at Broadview, I really don't think it was hindering law enforcement and EMS response all that much. I looked and there was alternative routes. Right. All right. And that Broadview being the ICE facility in Chicago area. But I still recommend increasing it because you're a police department that's under strength, and that's how you could fix it without hiring 1,000 police officers. In fact, the recruiting is the issue in a lot of that. There was issue with shortfalls. And the money was a lot allocated in places, and they're not hireable. Right. And of course, ICE just hired a bunch of people, so people would go for the federal government before they would state and local, generally. So I would electronically lock down that area. And to do that, you would also, if you could afford some retired guys to come back and retired gals to come back and retired trans if you have any. Don't want to offend anybody in Seattle. FBI people are actually in the mind say, "Well, that's actually a great idea. We need a couple trans officers because there's some things they need to investigate." It would be great for undercover roles. So I think that's it. Just again, they probably have a lot going on right now. So again, I wouldn't foresee any major changes. I mean, you could do planning until after the soccer thing's done. Well, I actually know you could probably bring some officers back in, even for the soccer thing. I don't know. You should have funding for contractors and contract officers. I don't know how how you allocate money in Seattle. So this is just about to begin. Right. So right now, people are starting to travel to the city. Probably why I'm partially here. Waterfront, Pier 62. Let's play Seattle Center, Victory Hall. Yeah, it's probably a bad time to focus on that particular neighborhood's issue. But if it's a sex trafficking location, individuals in that location are probably being looked at or were looked at already. So they may be further along in some sort of investigation. But again, it wouldn't with the soccer thing coming, it wouldn't be feasible to do much as far as the planters or whatever. They were saying they didn't do any good. So it's still up in the air as far as exactly what the issue is, uh, technically, and then how to counter that issue. I think once they get done with this, which is into July, uh, July 6th is the last game. I think. So again, it'd be a good time now to go into the planning mode on what do. She's doing a study. The mayor, shutting down streets, and I haven't looked at the area on the map because I'm still having trouble bringing it up and figuring out where it is on Google. But I'll look at what's there. I have a certain image in my mind, but I don't know if it's real. Let me pull this up, see if I can get to it. Go to maps. All right. What's the cross street? Well, shutting down an area could make it more difficult to investigate the given crime. Right, where's the map? Okay. All right. It's over here. Yeah, okay. That's pretty close. Right. Okay, yeah, it's a mix of industrial and residential. Right. And then you have businesses out here on Aurora. You have a large immigrant community. Okay. You got a one-on-one here, which gives me. Parking available in the rear, Russell accused me. Yeah, dine in your car. That accused me. Open 24 hours. That accused me. And there's the circle. And that's what keeps happening. Right. Just keeps going round and round. Yeah, I think the only feasible option is to bring an ICE task force in. Just kidding. is to is to do what I said. You just got to increase surveillance. You got to bring in some really good people, like retired people that are willing to work as a contractor to do some of the work, right? And we kind of try again the same thing with street takeovers and flash bombs. You got to outpace what they're doing. And that's where the issue is. You can't what the system what's in place right now doesn't allow you to do it. And again, a lot of it's manpower, and it's not even lack of money in some cases. And I think this is one of the places where it's at. It's funny because this is the kind of area I didn't see as many trees, but as far as the industrial kind of area and the housing, residential housing, I did see that in my mind's eye. Yeah, my mind's eye could be your chief's mind's eye for all I know. Yeah, I again, as far as cutting off streets, right, the one issue with the planners, they were saying the planners didn't even work. So I guess they're calling for all those streets to be quote unquote shut down of traffic. So that's what I'm not understanding. Is that as far as they're talking about going? Which doesn't get rid of crime. It actually may make crime more difficult to investigate because we don't know, like you don't know what intelligence features are already set up in that area. Like which neighbors actually make money calling the police and telling them what's going on. Right. When we take a walk down a street, they're asked to take a walk down. Right. So, although for those particular residents, it might be better if that area was shut down, but it may make it more difficult to take care of the overall problem. And again, when people are smoking cannabis, it's difficult. Again, it causes a lack of what's the word? Discernment. Lack of inhibition. Right. I do believe cannabis creates an increased level of sexuality. Right. I'll spend time looking at it more so I can figure out exactly what's there. But I would suspect that there's a high level of investigation going on there. And I would suspect that because the fife is coming in, some of those areas are being looked at, the people in those areas. Because what happens is when like the Super Bowl is a great example because everybody sees that. When the Super Bowl comes in, all your local, even like adjoining communities, they're flying people in. So a lot of those people that are spread out throughout Seattle in sex trafficking will then begin to focus on the FIFA area. So as a pre-investigation, they could be running additional sex trafficking investigations to figure out who's possibly doing that. Because essentially, if there's a pimp and there's prostitutes, uh, to figure out how large that operation is, then they would start investigating that pimp. And they would do it based upon gathering intelligence in those communities. Or they may even know who's actually going to do that. Yeah, I think one of the greatest assets is contract officers. As long as you have good guys and good gals that previously worked, and then you bring them back, you let them keep their retirement and pay them a few extra dollars. Because you're getting people with 20, 30 years experience. That helps also. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God. And all